All right, thank you all for joining me today. It is CJ in the building. I am glad that you all are here today. I have got a good video for you, and I think you're going to find the information in this video very worthwhile. And this is a follow-up to the last video I released on this topic, which I titled Why African Americans Are Now Leaving Ghana in Droves. And that particular video, ever since I put it out, received such overwhelming positive responses. And it was so encouraging because not only did 85% of people who watched that video like it, it was the most shared video on my platform. The most. And I also received emails from African Americans who were in Ghana and have since returned to the United States, thanking me for really shedding and talking about this truth that most people are not talking about. Because this is a reality of what they were faced in Ghana, and many of which are still facing that over there. And so I thought it would make more sense, and it's only fitting for me to now give you a deep dive to the challenges that they were facing over there. And so I thought I would go ahead and just give you this video. So let me just get right into it. So there are two main challenges that African Americans who answered the call in 2019 to go to Ghana faced in Ghana. This is the reason why most of them have returned back to the United States, and perhaps going to be the exact same reason for the ones that are still there to come back. It is a reality that most of them didn't expect, but they were faced in Ghana. One of which was scam. Scam was a huge thing that most of them faced in Ghana. They were scammed of their money. They were scammed off of the little resources they took over there, most of which took very limited resources to Ghana. They were scammed either on basic household items that we all purchase. So most of them paid double the price of these household items from what the locals were paying. For example, a refrigerator that might go for 50 CD was being sold to these African Americans at 100 or 120 CDs. They were also being scammed of apartment location. So those that were looking for homes to stay in, an apartment to stay in, the real estate agents in Ghana scammed them, on the apartment fees. It was just a bad situation that a lot of them faced, which really ate up their money. So think about you going to a country with either limited resources or even if you had a lot of resources and having to pay double the amount because of someone scamming you. You would find that to be deplorable. You would find that to be exhausting and disgusting. In this country, we talk about price discrimination, where people discriminate against you and sell you things based on the color of your skin and give you a different price. It's called pricing discrimination in this country. And what was so heartbreaking about this whole thing was that many of them left the United States to Ghana because they were being discriminated against in the United States because of the color of their skin, because of, being black, which most of us face discrimination and racism in the United States. Imagine going from that to a country, right, which you would expect that people will just accept you and they will treat you differently, and being discriminated against because of the color of your skin and how you talk. So the moment these people open their mouth, the moment African Americans opened their mouth to speak, it was a giveaway to the locals that they were not from there. And that was an easy target on their back, to be scammed by the locals. And when you live day in, day out like that, to where everything you do It's a potential scam. It's a potential, being ripped off. It's a potential being taken advantage of. At some point, you're going to get tired of it because you're not used to that level of extortion. You're not used to that level of exploitation, especially when you're coming from a country that exploited you your entire life. To now go to a place like that, to now get that from the locals over there, that is a huge problem. And so many of those two who were able to buy land were scammed of land deals, and it's an ongoing problem, right? It's an ongoing problem in Ghana, which is something that you're not hearing about. You're not hearing about all of these because what you're hearing essentially is go to Ghana. It's a haven, right? And those that answer the call, this is the reality of what they were faced in Ghana. This is the everyday life they were dealt with in Ghana. This is what they were exposed to. And for anyone that is now used to that is sure to leave a negative perception or a negative reality. And so they will come back home and they'll say, oh, Africa is such a scamming place. No, Africa didn't scam you. Ghana did. Right? You didn't get all that from Africa. You got that from one country, Ghana. And so I would hope that these people, when they tell their story, they'll tell it exactly the same way they told it when they were going over there. And all excited about, oh, we're going to Ghana. Ghana is a great place. We love it. Now, I'm sure Ghana is a great place. There are aspects of Ghana that are great. But the reality also is that these people face scams of epic proportion in that country. Right? And that is sure to leave anyone with a bad experience, which is why most of them are now coming back, because they can't handle it. They can't handle it. The next, number 2 reason is even equally as disheartening as the first one, which is that many of them did not feel welcomed by the locals in Ghana. Okay, forget all the stuff you're hearing on the internet. Here's why that is the case. And let me break this down for you all because I think it's important that you understand this from a logical reasoning. Okay. I mentioned in my last video that Ghana's economy has been failing for a long time. Ghana has been in economic crisis for a long time. It wasn't just from the COVID-19 situation. Okay, because Ghana wasn't the only country that went through COVID-19. Every country in Africa was affected by COVID-19. So the idea that their economic problems started because of COVID-19 is a fallacy and it's a false statement. It's a narrative that is not true. Because Nigeria faced COVID-19. There were people that caught COVID over there. They shut their country down. You don't see them going through economic crisis. The economy is not the best. It has some challenges, but they're paying their debts. Ghana has defaulted on its loan twice. Nigeria is not defaulted on its loan. But they went through COVID. There are countries in Africa, Kenya went through it. Zimbabwe went through it. South Africa, Cameroon, many countries in Africa was affected by COVID, but you don't see them at the brink of bankruptcy. So the idea that COVID was the reason why Ghana's economy is failing is not true. Ghana's economy has been failing way before COVID started. Now, of course, COVID exacerbated this whole thing, but Ghana has been in trouble for a long time based on its policy, the policies that Ghana puts in place, which have not been sensible policies, like the year of the return thing, which was an exploitative strategy to pull in African Americans' resources. That alone itself was not a good strategy because it was based on an economic ploy to try to boost Ghanaians' economy at the detriment and at the expense of burdening the Ghanaian economy. So of course the locals weren't happy about this. They went on board with Nana Akufo-Addo's strategy to bring in people, migrants, into their country when they had limited resources. Okay, so I want you to think about it logically because it's exactly the same way. It's essentially what Black Americans are complaining of in the United States. In the current situation right now, to help you understand it much more, and I want you to watch this video real quickly. It's a video of African Americans in Chicago, in the south side of Chicago, South Shore to be exact, who are protesting migrants from Mexico coming to their community. So what's going on now is that there is a surge of migrants at the border. And these migrants are taking advantage of the fact that Title 42 just expired a couple of hours ago. And Title 42 was a policy that was put in place by the Trump administration, the previous administration. It was a health policy which basically halted any asylum-seeking individuals to the United States during the COVID era. It was a way to really protect United States citizens from any possible exposure to COVID. So Title 42 was put in place to halt, at least temporarily, to halt the migration of anyone from different countries to the United States. And so the word went out that this was coming up, it was going to be expiring. And so you have migrants at the border. Now, what's happening is that the ones that have crossed over to the border, again, dumped into black communities, which is naturally what they do. They do these things year after year. They dump them and use them as political pawns and dump them in black communities. So black community leaders and residents in Chicago are fighting back against this.
Corey and Don, contentious to say the least. This forum was a chance for city leaders to get input from the public about the old South Shore High School housing migrants. The city got their input. A packed house at the South Shore International College Prep High School. The crowd voicing their opinion, strongly opposing the addition of migrants in their community.
I am just outraged. I'm outraged, and I don't understand why our community was chosen.
City representatives saying the old South Shore High School would not be a shelter, but one of 3 respite centers for the migrants to temporarily sleep, eat, and take a shower, starting with about 250 people taking up the building's first floor. This is a way for the city to get the current 300 migrants out of the police stations. Questions were asked, but answers hard to hear, interrupted by the upset crowd. Before the meeting, a small protest of South Shore neighbors demanding the energy put into the migrant issue be put into their neighborhoods.
It is a slap in the face that we as citizens of the United States of America do not have the resources and support, but you're going to bring people who are not citizens here in our community, in our buildings that we pay taxes for, that you took away from us. Yeah. That is completely unacceptable. We are in a humanitarian crisis right now. The black people in Chicago are bleeding on the streets.
Okay? Because their communities are in trouble already. Because when these migrants come in, they come in and don't contribute as much to the community and eat off the resources in those communities. So naturally, people within those communities fight back. That's what you're seeing in Ghana. That's what you're seeing in Ghana. Now, you're not getting people covering this on the internet because they're trying to hide that. And they're trying to give you this false illusion that all things is all well and good in Ghana. It is not all well and good in Ghana. Ghana is in trouble economically. And their citizens are feeling it. There are no jobs. The GDP in Ghana has been declining year after year, which has prevented Ghana from meeting its loan obligations, which is why Ghana as a country has defaulted on its loan. When you default on your loan, it spells trouble. Defaulting on your loan does not say you're economically stable. It says that you are economically bankrupt. If you can't pay your bills, that means you have an economic crisis on your hands. Okay? So this idea that somehow bringing people to your country was a great move on the Ghanaian president was a horrible move, because it's essentially says that he doesn't care about his people, because you're bringing people to your country who are not going to add to the economy. I know he thought they were going to add, but they didn't. And now they burdened your economy. So naturally, the people in that country are going to feel some kind of animosity about this. And they're going to take it out on their new visitors, which is why you're seeing the increase of scam, and you're seeing the agitation against African Americans from the locals, which is a logical thing. And it has nothing to do, it doesn't say what's happening. And I have to say this, the Ghanaians and locals don't hate African Americans. This is not what it's about. They're not showing this because they hate African Americans. It's a survival instinct. If we don't have food, we don't have things to live on, we don't have jobs, and then you bring people over to take off the little that we have, people are naturally going to fight back against this. People are not going to be happy about this. And so the president of Ghana, he's not popular. The president of Ghana has shown that he doesn't care for his people. His people are not on his side on this. And the few African Americans that are there are exposed to hostility, agitation, scam, exploitation. Now, how much more do you think anyone will take before they decide, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm going back home, which is why you're seeing the returnees back in the United States. This is why you're seeing this, and it's going to continue. And I think it's important for anyone deciding to go to Ghana to get the facts. If you want to go to Ghana, go to Ghana. But don't go off of this emotional thing that you go over there, it's all well and good over there. Because Ghana is in trouble economically. Ghana is in serious financial ruin. And it doesn't make any, use your common sense. It doesn't make any sense to leave a stable economy to an unstable economy like Ghana. Ghana is about to be on the verge of civil unrest. So you're going to go there on the brink of civil unrest. And if, God forbid, the type of thing that happened in Sri Lanka happens in Ghana, what do you think is going to happen? Of course, you're probably going to be like screaming to the Biden administration to come and rescue you, send Navy SEALs and special forces to come and get you, right? Because if you're going to go to a country, at least go to a country that isn't on the brink of civil unrest and bankruptcy. Go to a country that you have a chance of getting a job and survive. There are many countries in Africa, many, that you can go to. Okay? Because I'm all for black people, whether they're African Americans or they're British blacks whose ancestors were sold into slavery. We're all tied into this. My ancestors were sold as slaves in this country, into this country. Your ancestors were sold and were slaves in this country. Every black person on the planet is connected to slavery. Every black person on the planet. Right? So if you're gonna go to Africa and you want to, first of all, go visit. There are many countries. Take your pick. If you want to go to Ghana, get the facts. If you want to stay in any country, make sure that country is at least economically stable to the part, right, where they're not at least bankrupt. They're paying their bills. Ghana is not. Okay, go to a place that at least are going to welcome you, where they're not going to see you as someone that's going to mooch off their resources, but someone that is a friend and an ally that's going to contribute to their economic well-being. There are great countries that I can name, Nigeria being one of them. If you're really serious about making money, go to Nigeria. Nigeria is a great place. Forget the nonsense you're hearing. Nigeria, people that are serious about making money, go to Nigeria. You go to Kenya. Kenya is a beautiful place. The people are great over there. Go to Tanzania. Tanzania is a beautiful place also. Go to Rwanda is a nice place to go to. There are many places in Africa that you can go to that are not on the verge of civil unrest. And so when you go to a place like that, you are putting yourself in a possible arm's way, which many of them have experienced the scam over there. And of course, when you're in a place where there is no food and there are no resources and there are no jobs, of course, naturally, people resort to practices that are not moral. And that's what you're getting in Ghana. And I think it was important to have this video because a lot of people aren't talking about this. They're giving you the romanticized version of this country. And while I love Ghana and Ghana is my people, right? I have to tell you that when you are making decisions to live in a different country, make sure you are getting the facts. Make sure you're doing your due diligence. You're not going off of some YouTuber who has a political and financial interest in this. trying to gain YouTube views, and tells you to go over there while he's over here. Did you know that? Most of these people that are doing this YouTube, they're all in the United States. Most of them. They tell you to go to Ghana. They're all here. So if it was that great in Ghana, why you not over there? If Ghana was such a haven, why aren't you over there? Why are you here? Why is your YouTube channel registered in the United States? Why do you live here? Go to Ghana. Show us that it can be done. Show us that this is such a haven before you tell somebody to now move over there. Right? So understand that there are a lot of issues behind this. And I'm glad that I'm able to tell the African American story and really cover this the way it needs to be covered. Naturally, of course, Ghanaians that attacked that video, most of which were from here anyway, by the way. If you look at the analytics of that video, most of the people that watched the video were from the United States. So the ones that didn't like what I was putting out, which was the truth, which is normally the truth usually tends to really offend those who would like to bury it. They were all here in the United States. The trolls from that video were all in the United States, which is ironic, right? So make sure you're doing your due diligence, vetting a country properly, whatever that country is, vet it. Make sure, because it's your livelihood, it is your finances, it's your resources, your time, and it's also your family, if you're moving your family over there, that you're going to be paying a huge cost on that. And so if you're not doing your due diligence on any country and you're just going off of an emotion because some YouTubers on YouTube are telling you to go to that country, you're only doing yourself a disservice. And you're going to find out later on that you're going to be the one paying the price. And they're not going to come rescue you when the whole thing falls apart on you. So thank you all for watching it. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this content, and I'll see you all next time.
Det finns ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för dig baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. Och det jag lägger all min tid och jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda dig baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig. Aldrig. Kommer aldrig känna så här för någon annan än dig. Aldrig. Kommer aldrig känna så här för någon annan än dig. Varje gång jag bak på dig, jag tänker vilket kap jag har gjort. Jag skulle gå tillbaka i tid, göra om allt igen och förstå. Ser det som ett allt, det är dig jag vill wifa. De här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. Och det jag lägger all min tid och jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda dig baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig.